Today, let's focus on the last and arguably the most important step in oil painting. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Well, today is the big day when we are finally getting to the final episode of the long series of how to create an oil painting from the first steps to the very last one. So today we're going to focus on these final steps that will allow us to take a painting that is nearly completed to finished work. I don't know whether I'm the only one here, but I have observed on many occasions that when I start working on a new painting, I'm so excited, I'm extremely concentrated and very mindful of what I'm doing. I'm following like a plan in my head, so I'm very concentrating on doing the best underpainting, on laying down the first layers of color very purposefully. I'm going through all of those steps without rushing them. But I've also become aware that the more I approached a completed state of the painting, the more I want to finish it. I can't wait to see the idea that was born in my head finally take form in a finished painting, right? So I know that I tend to start to rush through the paces at the very end, and the risk here is obviously that we might put out paintings out there on the website or send them out to galleries or something that are not living up to their very best potential. Paintings that might be even better than what they are in those finishing stages. And I do believe that we have a duty not only to our collectors and to our partners in the galleries, but also to ourselves to put out the best works possible for us, and therefore, maintain our own standard in a way that we really force ourselves to take the time to get there, to get to these crucial moments when a painting really is complete and you feel like proud to have taken the time to get there. And I think that it is also showing ourselves respect and showing the process respect, because we have invested not only days but weeks and often months of our lives into creating these things. So we have this moral obligation in a way to slow down at the end and take a step back and really focus on what is missing from our paintings to make them really complete. But please let me know in the comments whether you can relate to what I'm saying, or maybe it is just a me problem and no one else is having those considerations or those, I don't know, worries in the end of the creation process. Let me know. But regardless whether you are like me, tempted to rush through the paces at the end of the creating process or not, what remains true is that there is a stage fairly at the end of the creation process where we need to be very concentrated and very mindful of what we are doing, because we have often worked on different parts of the painting like separately, and at the end it is crucial to look at the painting as a whole. And I know that there are different ways to go about it. There are painters who prefer to work like thematically, so for instance in landscapes, work on the mountains one day and on the grasses the other day, and I don't know, in the forest the day afterwards. Then one might progress from the foreground to the background or the other way around. I know that some painters proceed by color schemes. So for instance, they are painting in all the areas that are green and then focusing on like browns or whatever. But it is humanly impossible to work on everything at the same time, right? So obviously your vision of the painting throughout the creation process is partial. And there's nothing we can do about it, but one thing: be aware of this, and going into the final stages, work actively on bringing all those different pieces together and make them sing in a choir, without one voice being too shouty and one voice singing on a false note and one voice not even being heard or something like that, right? You are really in the final stages in a position of a chef of an orchestra who brings all those voices together to a harmonious whole. So this brings us to a stage where we won't focus on like smaller details, but we will try to keep an overview of the painting, a global view in it, where our main focus is to look at it from some sort of distance and try to figure out what is still disharmonious or what is lost maybe in the overall view, what is like jumping out of the painting and grabbing your attention maybe a bit too much. What are elements that you have to bring down? What are the elements that you have to, on the contrary, emphasize a little bit more in order to achieve the effect that you would want to? In our case, for instance, I would say that upon reflection and having gained some distance from the painting, I would say that for now it appears maybe a bit flat. So what we could do is enhance the shadows in the places where they are the deepest, and to create some contrast and to reintroduce some contrast into the painting, we might also consider lifting the highlights a bit, because as I've already told you, it is a natural process of the colors when drying down to become more muted and to lose some of their vibrance, some of their intensity, right? So we could maybe rework the whole sky and fog area here and make it appear maybe more white. I think that it might help also to enhance the feeling of moisture in the air, to recreate some of this very autumnal vibe that we are looking for in this painting. Also, I believe that maybe the level of detail, apart from the rocky road that we've worked on the last time, is too even throughout the whole painting. So I would like to reintroduce some of the details in the grasses in the foreground, so that there's more of a transition moving into the horizon line. This would feel more natural, I believe, to the human eye, because we do feel a difference between the foreground and middle and background. So we need to go into this maybe a bit more. Also, when I look at Georgina's hair here, I believe that it looks a bit flat maybe, so we need to bring back a bit of detail maybe, maybe some light that her finer hairs are catching when flowing in the wind. Small things like this that might not seem problematic per se, but that might make a difference actually between a okay painting and a really good one. I might see other things moving forward. I would need to pull out the reference photograph, so I will be able to talk you through the process and through the different things that I will probably notice when working on it. But these are for me the major problematics here that we need to work on when going into the final phase. As you might be already familiar with, the concept of this series of videos, so I will be painting live here and comment on everything I do. So this is one of the longer videos on my channel. So if it's not for you, if you're not looking forward spending maybe an hour here watching me paint it and comment on everything I do, then I regret that, and I'm sorry that this week's video might not be your cup of tea. I will be back with time lapses very soon because I have new things in the works. So don't leave the channel just now. But yeah, we will be together for a while if you want to see how the finished painting will look like and how I get there. Now, before we jump into the painting process, I wanted to seize the occasion of having you here to make two small announcements. The first one being that my annual sale is now live on my Etsy storefront, and I'm actually looking to make some space in my studio, and I would love to see some of the bigger paintings go to make space for the newer ones that I would like to work on. So this is why I decided to take some 50% off, and if you were looking to purchase some of the bigger works from my online gallery, then this would be the moment to do so. Please consider going over to my Etsy storefront and checking out if there's anything that you like. I will leave the link in the description box down below as usual. Now, the second announcement would be, looking through my analytics, I have noticed that there are a lot of returning viewers here who are unfortunately not yet subscribed to my channel, and I know we are all sick and tired of YouTubers telling us to please subscribe and stuff like that, but please consider it nevertheless, because we are still a community and my channel is growing. And especially for painters, I feel like we spend a lot of time creating the different works. It's not something that you create instantly. So you might imagine that I also am dependent on supplementary income, selling prints, or also I hope one day YouTube. We are not there yet, but if you like what I do and if you want to show your support to the channel, and if you're not yet subscribed, please consider doing it. It would mean a lot for my channel, because through growth, the videos that I'm putting out have more chances of being put forward by YouTube and proposed to other people who might be interested in an art channel, right? And if you are already subscribed, then thank you so very much. As always, what you can do for me is like and comment, or maybe share my video and help me find other viewers who might be interested in what I do. Thank you for having stuck with me through this announcement. I know that you're here for the painting process, so now let's get into it real quick. So now let's dive into some burnt umber mixed in with black to go over the shadows that need deepening. In our case, this would be here on the horizon line. Remember, this will dry down and calm itself a bit once it is dried down, so I'm not worried that this looks overly dramatic. This is the point of this video, is showing you how to finish the painting. So we will have some more dramatic instances, right? Otherwise it will dry down and still be, or feel like, lacking contrast and slightly being dull, as it was when we've started with it. So the whole point is bringing back a bit of drama here, right? I'm also feeling like we would need to bring back more of a orangey brown here in the forest, because this is now too yellow for my taste, and not only for my taste, but as compared to the reference photograph, I feel like it is too yellow-ish. Here as well, and maybe go into the tree, because it is quite dark around its edges here. Right, and we have maybe to feather out those bits a bit more, while I've started adding in the darker colors. Okay, something like this. Now we have to do the exact same thing here on the other side, and bringing in a bit more treetops. Then there is a bottom line here that is a bit darker as well, and we have to bring them into the shadow further here as well. I'm not bothered in being too precise with my brushes. On the contrary, the whole point is to suggest individual trees here, right? So we have to not be too geometrical about it, otherwise it won't look natural. Even if this is a bit more in the mist, this is still a darker space here. Maybe not too much, I will just feather it out with my finger here. Okay. Do we want to add something here? Yes, but it's a bit more purpley and a bit less green, so I won't keep the same color that I had on my brush to do the trees here and the foreground of the mountain. We're still not done with the deepest shadows. Where can we add it? In here, the shadow that the stone is throwing. It's definitely more of a black. The shore line here needs to get darker as well. Some bits in the stone here could definitely be a bit darker. And here I have to be very precise here. I'm only adding in the black parts right now, okay? I see that there are deeper shadows as well that are more of a brown tone and not black. So for now, I'm only focusing on those that are really black, okay? So I'm not forgetting anything, and on the contrary, I am leaving some parts out voluntarily because I believe them to be more brown than black. So I we'll fix that a bit later on. For now, we're focusing on the black part here, okay? Here we have some black, but which will fade into some darker brown. Here as well. Okay. I would say that this is pretty much it for the black on the left side of the painting. I would say that this is pretty much it. You see how like more lively this has become already, and we're at the beginning of the process. So this means that this was an important step to add in, and that it was really lacking in shadow. I also have to feather out this here because I have stopped it a bit abruptly maybe, and I need to have something of a more like natural look to it. Okay. Or even here actually, because we do have some shadows in the tartan that maybe faded away a bit after the dry down. So let's bring that back. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not covering up the camera, but I do need to lean in a bit more because it is very detailed and I do need to see what I'm doing here. Now here as well. God, I do hope I'm not messing with the tartan. This is really the bit that I'm not loving messing with again, but I can't pretend that it is contrasty enough. It isn't. We have to bring it to a more dramatic level like it is in the initial photograph, otherwise we're not doing our job here. So there goes. And it will make sense once everything is dried. It usually does, even if something looks a bit funny in the beginning and you are often in a stage where you're like, oh, I overdid it, it's too bright, it's too vibrant, it's too, I don't know, anything, and then you come back to it in like a couple of days, a week, something, and the color starts fading out when drying down, and you're like, oh, actually, it was the exact amount of drama and brightness and vibrance that we needed in order for it to work. After a nice drying down time. I feel like we could really even go into some deeper shadows and lay down some pure black, because this is still mixed in with the burnt umber. I believe that we can maybe graduate it a bit more. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, here we are. Here as well. Yes, we need to go into some real blacks. I hope I won't regret it. I so hope that I am not overdoing it here. If I overdo it, I won't get back into the tartan. I refuse doing it. It was too much of a fuff. I won't. Just kidding. If I am under the impression after a couple of days that this went in the wrong direction, I will probably fix it, obviously, because this will be up for sale once it's finished, so I cannot put out work that is subpar, that I feel not comfortable about. But oh my goodness, was this difficult part of the painting. Like, honestly, this is maybe amid the most difficult things I ever had to paint. So yeah, obviously hoping that I didn't go overboard with the shadows here. I feel like this is all right and it is working out nicely here. Okay, we also have some blacks here around the stones, and I feel like they do have a more distinct outline in a way here in this part of the painting, so I'll just go ahead and make them. Once again, I'm not copying anything, right? So just roughly imagining outlines for the stones, and on we go. Here, and the stones. We don't want to make it look too regular, so we will not outline all of the stones, just there where the shadow is really building up. So here on the outlines, maybe a bit more. Some of them here, some of them here. And I'm even not under the impression that we do need to put in a lot of work here. In the pebbles, they are looking correct the way they are. Nothing that would feel really off here. Here. Some here. here where maybe a couple of them are lacking in definition and they look a bit, I don't know, smushy. So we can go in and fix that. But once again, we have to be a bit chaotic in all of this, otherwise it will look too well organized, and this is really the contrary of what we want to. Here you go. Now, on the right side, we will definitely have some deep blacks here in the foreground. So, once again, we're talking about the blacks here, okay, not the browns. The browns will be added in a bit later on. This might actually be the next step, because I think that I would like to proceed in the traditional manner where we move from the darkest parts to the lightest parts, and yeah, this is how we'll roll here. Okay, and this one should be a real black. We're also lacking a bit in shadows and in definition with the stones in the background on this part of the painting. And this is not good, because you should be able to make it out. It's not that far away, so we need to bring it back, bring the definition back a bit. Okay, now here we have the same problem. On this part we should add a bit of outlines here and there in the stones, because they are casting a shadow, quite a distinct one, nearly each and every pebble. So I'm just swooping around most of them a bit like this, and once again here in the bottom corner we have deeper shadows. So this is where we do need to accentuate the outlines in the stones. So in this part every single stone will have an outline, and the space between the pebbles should be black. Okay. Okay. Now the very last thing would be the black in Georgina's hair. I've told you in the introduction that I felt like it was a bit one-dimensional, so I will now paint the bit that is not flowing in the wind in with the black. It's more of a glazing, really. And I do believe that this looks much more natural already. We have forgotten the outline of the belt. So this is now fixed. So I have now mixed Indian red with burnt umber to obtain this very red hued darker brown. And as promised, we will add this darker reddish brown color where we first missed it. Yes, this is more of the depth that I'm looking for. So we have some bits here. I suggest that we start the background on the left. This is how we've proceeded for the black. And it worked out really well, so this is, let's roll in the same way here for the browns. We might want to smudge this out a bit, because whilst there is like depth and more shadows that we're trying to re-establish, they are maybe a bit more diffused as well. So let's see if just with the finger we can solve this. Yes, this is looking good in my opinion. And also there's really, I don't know whether it's the colors that have dried in that way, or it's well, me having had a bit of a distance from this photograph and this painting, and I'm just realizing that there are bits that are much warmer than what I have previously painted. So we will need to glaze some areas, I think, in order to bring this reddish orangey hue in. This is lacking clearly in many areas of this painting. Right, so this is here. Okay, so this is all the brownish tone. Yeah, we will need to bring back some of the oranges here, definitely, because this is way too greenish and too cold in the undertone. This is not how it looks in the reference photograph, so we'll need to warm it up. As you can see, I'm mostly applying this reddish brown very next to the black that we laid down just before, because it is the, well, it's continuation really, because it starts with this, with these deeper black shadows, and then where the light starts to fall a bit on it, it becomes brownish. So on this border where it starts building to the highlights, this is where we want the brown tones to mostly be. Okay. I feel like I've missed bits here. Yeah. I also feel like there are maybe some stones that are less grey and more like this warm brownish colour, so I'm going over it ever so slightly. As you can see, it doesn't cover the stones as much, but yeah, it's pretty close to glazing what I'm doing here. I'm just not picking up medium, but I'm dry applying it more or less, so, but yeah, like this here, this bit should be pretty reddish, and also This was too much. We might want to apply it here in the distance and also here on the horizon. I feel like might even be more purpley than that. Just I want to absolutely cover those yellow bits as previously mentioned, because they are really not yellow at all in the photograph. I don't know what got into me. So this is done, and I'm not sure that we've missed as much here on the right side, just some bits here and there. I don't feel like we are lacking an awful lot of definition here, since we went in with the blacks. Now we just need to bring back a bit more of the orange tones and we will be all right here. And some glazing over those pebbles here. And really we are done with the browns, aren't we? I believe we are. Now for this orange tone, I mixed a ton of colors together. I took cadmium red light, Mars yellow, and I added this to our mixture of Indian red and burnt umber in order to have a coherence, right? And we have obtained this middle ground muted orange that I believe will create the necessary transition parts, maybe where we are lacking both color and like warmth. You see here, for instance, it looks a bit flat, this area, so we need something that is not as yellow as that and not as dark as the black and the burnt umber mixed in with the cadmium red. So we do need to connect these areas maybe, so I'm painting it in this way without it looking too neat, right? Here, for instance, also I will go over the black in places in order to smooth out the transition between those grasses without cancelling out the black that we've put in, of course. This is not at all the point, it's just that we have we needed the depth in the shadows, right? This is why we put the black back in. But now it looks like we only have 2 or 3 colors, whereas this is a very nuanced area in my opinion. This is where we have so many different colors in the grasses, and everything should look really fluffy and disorganized, and yeah, a really rich mess. And you cannot create this illusion of depth if you only have like 2 colors that you're using. So we need to create some transitional colors here, and also warm up the whole area, because this is what I've told you, it's looking a bit too greenish yellow for my taste, like compared to the painting, to the reference painting. So we definitely need to correct that. And this already looks much better, I believe. We can bring it into the background here as well. Do we have it in the foreground? I don't believe we have. Do we need it? We need some of it at the right in order to have some blotches of color here for it to look a bit more lively. Although I believe that we definitely had this problem on the left and not so much on the right. I don't know why that is, because I did paint it in the same with the same colors. I don't know. Okay. And we also had some loose strands of grass, this orange looking grass lying on the road. So let's bring this in. This might look a bit off, I don't know. I will add in a bit of the belt maybe as well. And now we will go back in with some of the yellow, but we will mix a yellow that is not that green looking in order to repaint some of the details here. Now in order to do that, I have mixed bright orange, pale ochre. This will not at all take forever. I really should have started in the background, right? So here we have like a lot of small grasses that are creating this texture actually, and they are very bright against those darker grasses, and we have some that overlap, of course, into or on top of the water. This is actually an area where we can go brighter than that if we want to, and we should, I believe. This needs more orange. This bit here, I have to bring it back a bit more. Here we really need to create a bit more texture. This was looking too organized on the whole, I believe. I'm still working like without copying the photograph. The grasses that I'm putting down are not in the exact same place as in the photograph, but I'm creating texture in about the same way, or I aim to build the same amount of perceived texture, let's say. So for instance, here in the foreground we can make out quite a lot of different individual strands of dry grasses, and this is the effect that I'm going for, whereas in the background we make out like overall shapes without seeing the individual strands. I'm struggling a little bit in this area because I feel like it's not chaotic enough, and I don't know how to add the strands without it being overcharged. I don't want to cover up too much of the underlying thing, but we do have quite a lot of grasses here. I feel like this is really a very characteristic part for this area, so I cannot not paint them in at the same time. I do not want to destroy the underlying work. Now we can maybe go in with something a bit brighter, adding in more of the pale ochre in order to have a brighter highlight. Here in the background, oh, this is a good color. I feel like this is a very good color match for what we're doing. We definitely will need it here. Here, this is the perfect color for the background. This is exactly that. Let's put it down, maybe here as well. Okay, now we will add those individual grasses that I was talking about here. Those that are the brightest. We have some here as well. Once again, we do not want to overdo it. So we need to be very careful where we are adding this bright highlights in. Because once again, if you add the highlights everywhere, then nothing really is a highlight anymore, right? And we need those especially here. Have brighter strands in the foreground than that. Oh, we missed highlight on the stone here. And here as well, actually. Just a little bit in some areas. Yeah, especially this part, we needed to edit a bit here as well. And then those individual strands lying on the side of the road. Now what I would do, there are some areas where I feel like it is maybe too, you see the individual brush strokes too much, and it's too much in the background in order for this to look natural. So this is where I will go over with a dented brush and smudge this out a little bit. So we keep the color, we just lose the brush strokes ever so slightly. I want to have less definition. I want to keep this feeling of depth that we created through those different shades, but I would want to have it be less precise. And this is also true for the background. Especially so in the background, actually. Here I would want to smudge this a bit more as well. And here I will smudge not horizontally but vertically in order to stretch the brush strokes in the right direction, to have those longer grasses, you know. I will stretch it out, and we will need to add a bit more orange here, I feel. We need to bring back some bright orange here. Now this will go here, here, here. This is where we've lost it a bit. Definitely here, this is maybe where we've lost it the most. Ultimately, maybe I should go in with a bit more of the red. Maybe a bit here as well. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. At this stage of the painting, you do have to keep the eye on the overall impression, because you cannot allow to fall into the trap of, well, I've already established the shadows, I have gone in with the blacks, so now my job is done. In the process of tying everything together, you might kill some of those shadows like we did here, so I am going back into those and bringing some of them back. So we lost some of the shadows in the process here in the background, but that's okay because it's reversible, and as long as we just you know, are aware of what has happened, we can fix it. And this is what we're about to do. So you need to be constantly aware of what you're doing and correcting, and yeah, this is the stage where you have to look not only to the area that you are working on, but on everything everywhere, and yeah, you have to ask yourself whether the brush stroke that you are doing is adding something or to its overall impression or not. Is it necessary? Does it improve the overall impression? Or so we have to re-establish the outlines of the stone, and this one here as well, some of the shadows within the grasses here as well, and here. Okay. Okay. Here's where we need some more definition. And just ever so slightly here. Here on the right side we could add just a little bit of the highlighted grasses here, just a couple ones, and there, here, here. I think I've done a mess on the right, so let's correct this a bit and re-establish blacks here, 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 here. And that's about it, basically. I would say that the foreground is now done. Now the only thing that remains to do would be to brighten the sky, and to do so I believe that I will opt for the glazing technique. Maybe I will go into some light bluish greys in order to paint in some individual clouds, but mostly we have to brighten the sky. Right, so I believe that this is how much I will pick up for the sky, and I will try to cover the whole of it with only this, because the idea here is to glaze over and not to create an incredibly thick layer of white. We might need to switch to another brush that is more fluffy here in order to not have those streaks that I definitely don't like. I do not need texture in the sky. This is not what we're going for. Let's see. Better. Definitely better. It is a Pro Arti Master Stroke Series 65L. It's a lunar mop in small. I'm doing those really small brush strokes that are nearly circular, not perfectly circular, but like, yeah. We might need to go over maybe more. I'm also going over the far away mountain. I feel like we need to cover it up a bit. I might want to bring it back ever so slightly, but I will have glazed it a bit. And I'm bringing the glazing over the mountain a little bit to not have a too defined border. Right, this already looks much better and much more accurate. Now we might want to add in some of the clouds, and I believe that they are bluish grey in undertone, so we pick up our cool grey, which we just like not even dip brush into it, but we let the brush breathe next to cool grey and then go into the whites. We really want this color to be nearly indistinguishable from the rest. There is not an awful lot of texture in the sky. So we are hinting at clouds, not really painting them in. Don't worry, I will blend it out. It's not too dark. This was done on purpose so that I can blend more seamlessly into the rest of the sky. Yeah. Here we need to cover like larger areas in the sky, so this is why I'm picking up more color. See, it's half of the job is done by the color and the other half is really done by the brush strokes. This is how we create this texture. We might want to bring back just a little bit of the faraway mountain, but not an awful lot. I will add some greenish umber into our mixture of cool grey and white. Maybe go into some warm grey. Now we would want to add some warmer accents to it. So taking the same color and bringing in just a little bit of Indian yellow. And I got cut off by my camera once again. So I was about to put the last defining brush strokes in the mountain. So we need something darker. So I will dip my brush into the greenish umber and into the cool grey and add like the smallest amount here to hint at the slopes, right? Then there are some bits of the mountain ridge that are also darker, not all the way but in places. And here there's one ridge also that is darker, and then we would simply go into the whites to suggest that snow is on top of this mountain and to connect it to the sky. So we will add in those touches here, 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 here. And never worry, the whites will fade when drying down. So of course this appears very bright right now, but this effect won't last. So we do not need to worry. Oops, whoa, that's not what I wanted. So here we're connecting with the whites in the sky. I will blend it in with the other brush. I wanted to have a bit more body to blend it with. Right, so here goes. And I will dip the border ever so slightly to blur the transition here. And I believe that this is it for the sky. I've nearly forgotten the river here while I'm with the whites. This would have been very silly. We need to bring back those whites here. And there you go. There's also a bit of white in the distance. And I actually feel like this part we can lift it a bit, lift the highlights just ever so slightly and recreate a warmer grey. Okay, and carry it across. So this is a bit like glazing without it being glazing. It's not proper glazing. So yeah, here we would blend it a bit more into the foreground. I feel like this became a bit too dark, whereas the darker part really is more here on the right side and less so in the foreground, in the middle. Okay. Do we need some lifting here? We might. Like here. And here. Once again, I'm not trying to recreate the exact shape of the irregularities in the road. What is important is the overall impression. This needs to be just a tad darker. Black will definitely pull to the blue and colder side of the spectrum. So this is exactly what we would need here. Right, and there you go. Although it's not in the photograph, we might want to add some highlights in the hair where they really stand against the background. So Georgina has a dark brown that pulls on auburn, so we go back into our Indian red mixed in with dark umber. We will touch on some of her strands of hair ever so slightly. This is maybe already too much of a color cast, but I will make it work. I will blend it more and it will be alright. Let me just clean the brush. And then I'll take the same brush and I bring this color into the existing layers and smudge it out very roughly, so you won't know where it started and where it went. We might just add the black back in to the middle of her head. A bit more of the pure black to the center of the head. And there we have it. This is now, I believe, officially a finished painting. I just need to sign it.
And in order to help you appreciate the impact of this final stage on the finished painting, I wanted to show you some comparison shots from the painting now versus the painting at the end of our last session. So the finished painting is on the right side of the screen and the previous stage on the left side of the screen. Now, first of all, please disregard the slight difference in the white balance. Both photographs were shot at a different time in the day and also in different weather, so there are bound to be some differences, but this is not what we're focusing on today. This set aside, I think it becomes pretty obvious how different the overall impression is. On the right, we see that nothing is standing out too much in the rocky road, which was way too distracting on the left, I feel. The grasses in the middle ground become more interesting and refined. We have also the impression of a glistening river, which instantly brings it to life and shows movement. Now to zoom in to another part of this painting, on the right side we now have something more harmonious in the middle ground, both in the grasses and the road. The brush strokes are more refined and we don't have the feeling of a clumsy bit here, which we definitely had before. Of course, this is all very subtle, but on the whole we have more depth and the painting looks much more natural. And now I'll leave you with some close-ups of the finished painting.
And this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for having joined me here for the painting session. And I hope that I was successful in illustrating my point here, emphasizing the importance of the last stage of a painting, where we can really make a difference between the painting being okay as it is, because technically it is complete, and a painting that is really good because it is in itself completed, it is harmonious, and every element present in the picture contributes to the whole, actually. This is also the end of the series, because I'm not going into the varnishing process. I believe not only are there many other videos already out there who show you the different brushes and ways of varnishing, different types of varnish, so I don't feel like I have anything else new or better to contribute to this. And this is why this concludes the little series of how to create an oil painting from the first steps to the very last. I hope you enjoyed coming with me on this very long process, and you enjoyed watching me create a painting really from the beginning to its very end, in detail, and with me commenting on it. For those of you who might be interested in watching the other videos because you might not have seen them, I will link the whole series in the description box down below. And I have also created a playlist especially for this series, so if you want to watch the other ones, please do. Thank you so much for watching and being here and being part of our little art community. I hope that you might join me for another video very soon, and until then, I wish you a great morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Cheers guys, have a good one.